Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your host today, Jim Cockrum. I'm going to bring a guest on here in just a few minutes who's been doing Amazon at a high level for quite some time. And you're going to enjoy hearing his story. If you're new around here, you should know that this story features the vast majority of our episodes. Guests who are succeeding, building beautiful businesses on the internet, typically on Amazon, which is where we like to start people because we see that as the lowest hanging fruit opportunity for people who are ready to do the work and build a real business. If you didn't know, Amazon gets about half of all transactions online any given day in the United States. That's the place to be. We love Walmart. We love eBay. There's a lot of other things going on out there, but the low hanging fruit is absolutely Amazon right now. And we don't see that changing anytime in the near future. And today's guest is someone who's built a very robust business. They were actually a sponsor at our most recent live event. You may have heard us talk about the Proven Conference. We held that event in May of 2024. We're going to do it again in May of 2025. The website, if you're interested, is 3 words long. You ready? theprovenconference.com. Go check it out. It's the last 3 days of May 2025, and these guys will be back. I'm talking about OA Cheddar. I'll tell you what OA Cheddar is in just a moment, and our guest, Taylor Dunn, as well. He's the guy here representing their company. But let's talk about how you find profitable inventory for your business. Typically around here, what we've always said and what we're going to continue to say is the best way to find great inventory to sell on Amazon is to learn to use the tools yourself, learn the strategies yourself, go through the proven Amazon course training, like hundreds of the interviewed folks on our show that you've heard in the past have done, or a couple thousand of the posts that you've seen in our Facebook group. By the way, there's a link to that group at silentjimdotcom. If you're not a member yet, jump over there, join us. We got 76,000 members. That's how virtually everybody who's succeeded in our community has come to success. They didn't take a shortcut or an easy route or have put someone else in charge of finding their inventory. They learned it themselves. But there's a tiny exception that we're going to talk about today. And if you've heard me talk about leads lists in the past, which I've talked about many times, typically I've said something like this. If you're new to selling on Amazon, or if you haven't had a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month yet, you're crazy to buy a leads list and then buy the products on that leads list, someone else doing the research for you, sharing it with a handful of others, and think that that's going to grow your business. And I kind of still stand by that. You need to know what makes a good ASIN for your business, what makes a good product for your business, and what doesn't. You have to learn that yourself. But there's one company. They sponsored our most recent event. Like I said, OA Cheddar. They've got a special offer that they've presented to sellers that is unique in the industry. And today I dive in a little bit with one of the founders, one of the guys that runs that company, Taylor. We'll bring him on in a moment. And they talk about what makes their approach to providing leads and protecting that data completely different from anything I've seen in the industry. And you should know this. I've had, at this point, easily dozens of lead list companies come to us and say, Jim, we'll give you $1,000. Just talk about us nice on your podcast. Let us be a sponsor. Let us promote. We'll give you a 50% share of every lead list you sell. Help us promote our list. But I dive into the list, and time after time after time, it's the same story. No data protection, no long line of happy clients using their services. The high standards that we have for anything we bring to you around here is those kinds of things and more. They haven't been around very long. I was like, no, I can't do it. Well, these guys have stood the test of time. They've been around since 2018, as you hear on the show today. They are producing a lot of happy clients using their services. And we've got people on our team that use their services as well. We're in the process of setting up a special offer. Here's a link that you can use to go check out OA Cheddar. It's silentjim.com/OAC, as in online Cheddar, online arbitrage Cheddar, or OA Cheddar. That's their website. But go to silentjim.com/OAC. That's going to be a link over to their site. That is our affiliate link as well, but we are in the process of trying to set up a special deal, which may or may not be there when you use the link, but that's our relationship with them at this point. We've never promoted before. The leads list that we say, hey, yeah, go get your leads from these guys. It's very exclusive, they've got lists that only go to 20 people. All right. They've got lists that go to just 25. That's kind of how they delineated it. And I love, as I dive into the conversation with Taylor today, how much care they take over protecting those leads. And they're running a very successful Amazon business themselves, which gives them a lot of credibility in my book. So enjoy this conversation with Taylor Dunn of OA Cheddar. And also, I want to say they're going to be coming out with some Walmart leads soon, too. So be looking for that. For those of us who are getting excited about Walmart, a lot of listeners to the show are still very excited about Amazon, but starting to drift over a little bit on the Walmart as a selling opportunity as well. So listen for details on that. I'll look for them on their website. Again, silentjim.com/OAC to go hang out with OA Cheddar, see the special offers they have. Let's jump over and have a fun conversation with my friend Taylor Dunn. So, hey, Taylor, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jim. Thank you so much for having me.
Truly a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better today. And let me just start right off the top by saying, hey, thank you for being a great sponsor of this community. You guys really stepped up and made our last event fantastic. Everybody loved you at the show, was talking to you guys, lots of good feedback. And I got to say, just so you can hear me, I probably mentioned it in the intro too, but I want you to hear me say this, that I've been approached by literally, without exaggeration, dozens of leads list services. And I've said hundreds of times in our Facebook group, don't do those. Don't use them. Stay away. Don't buy everything on the list, please, especially if you're new, right? But you guys have been in the game long enough. You've convinced me. You've got enough big fans, not just among our student base, but on our leadership and coaching team. I'm like, all right, we got to figure out what these guys are doing different. You're doing something different and you're doing it right, as evidenced by the number of people who love you and how long you've been around. So with that, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about OA Cheddar. Just take the ball and run with it, man.
Yeah. So myself, I started off, I was actually a car salesman selling Subarus, and my brother Grant was the business owner. He started off selling on Amazon back in, I think I told you 2012 in the pre-show, but I'm reminded now it was actually 2013 is when he sold his first item on Amazon. I watched my brother build out this business, and he was a plumber at the time, and he was plumbing 8 hours a day, and then he'd be out at Walmart hitting clearance shelves, and scanning items, until late in the evening. And over time, he ended up firing himself from his plumbing job, and his wife stopped working as well, and they had their first baby, and he went full time into Amazon. And he ran that for a little while. And I remember watching him and I was like, man, I want to kind of do this with him. I want to do something. All right, whatever he's doing, like, is interesting to me. We always had talks, and
what was it about that? I kind of know, but what was the appeal? I know what it was for me. What was the appeal for getting into the internet?
I think it was just having success that's not dictated on somebody else, right? Having your own success. You could have I could have a successful job in the auto industry, being a sales manager, or working my way up that ladder, but I'm always tied to somebody else. I'm never my own boss or have my own freedom. So I think that was the most intriguing thing. And then just watching him do it and the fun that they were having in the process was also, for me, I was sitting there cold calling people, trying to, move metal, as they'd say in the business.
Right.
And I'm watching my brother going out to Toys R Us and, buying $10,000 worth of toys and talking about how he's going to sell it online. And, you're like, well, what the heck? Like, how do you just do that?
The flexibility was another thing for me. Like, I can do this whenever I want to.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And the third thing that was the most appealing, we pointed out too. The third one, I could put my business in my pocket and go anywhere. Seriously.
Right.
I can travel anywhere, anytime, and take this with me in my pocket. Right. If I got internet, I got, that I was like, that was such a new thing. 10 years or so ago, it was starting to become more mainstream, but 20 years ago when I got into it, that was mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
Think that I could have my own international business, put it in my pocket and work it whenever I felt like it. Sign me up, man.
Right. Exactly. Right? And so I watched him do that. And then one day I was at a crossroads for myself professionally. I was, do I stick at the job that I'm currently at, or do I pursue a management job, in a different city? And then the third option I told myself was, because Grant and I were talking about me jumping on board with him, someday at some time. And he had a couple of friends that were working for him, and it was like the least likely option, right? When I came to this crossroads. And I remember sitting with my buddy before a Bible study and praying about this because I was conflicted. And in the middle of the Bible study, my brother calls me, and I ignored it, and I called him back afterwards, and he's like, "Hey, my friends, they don't want to do the work of going on the road," because we were doing all retail arbitrage. I was 100% retail arbitrage at the time. He's like,
Right.
"Do you want to come join me and do this?" And I was like, "Bro, I don't think I have a choice." Like, that was the quickest answer to prayer I've ever had. So the next day I put my 2 weeks in, I bought a truck, and we hit the road, and we started doing retail arbitrage. And we did that for a while. I became Grant's buyer. So I was traveling. I'm from Washington State. So we were traveling all around the state at that time doing retail arbitrage. And we were doing a 7-figure store all off of retail arbitrage. And so I took over buying for him so he could pursue a coaching program that we started in a very small group. And he started doing that. He started taking on coaching clients from all over the country. And one of the big struggles, and he was teaching retail arbitrage for his clients, were they couldn't go out to enough locations to buy enough stuff for their store. They needed more opportunity out there. And so he hired his first VA, trained them up to do online arbitrage. And at that time, we didn't know everything about OA, but we knew enough, right? We knew what a good product was. And so from that coaching program, once that ended, we had, these VAs that were honestly putting together a great little list. And we hired 2 more VAs, and we launched what is now OA Cheddar.
What year was that? When did you guys launch?
2018 is when we launched. Yep.
Yeah. And,
So
and in internet years, that is like
a
forever
million years ago. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, to emphasize a point, and you've seen these guys come and go, and I've been in this industry again for a long time. The
Mhm.
average lifespan of a buy list organization that makes their living by supplying a list of products that they suggest you consider buying for your
Yep.
online arbitrage or retail arbitrage business, replens, whatever case may be,
Mhm.
is about a year to
Mhm.
2 max.
Right.
So to last as long as you've lasted, we're in the 6-year range now. Like, you're doing something right. And I would even say the same thing about e-commerce coaching and any kind of e-commerce training. Like, the first question you should ask is, okay, how many years you've been around? And if it's less than
Right.
2 or 3, they're probably almost done. Probably on their
Right.
last gasp, or they just started and everyone's enjoying the thrill of the excited launch, right? And
Yep.
so I like to look for the guys that, that there's something magic about 5 years. The
Yeah.
companies, the trainers, the experts, the gurus, the channels, 5 years, man.
Right.
They haven't been there 5 years. Like, you don't know what you're doing yet. You
It's
just don't know. And you're probably
it's
not going to be around much longer. And I hate to
yeah.
say that, but there's just so many. And I'm sure you guys have had those moments of like, are we doing the right thing here? Is this, because that's
Right.
the ride, man. Right.
Well, we have had that, and it's been more recently. We actually, when we launched, Grant linked up with his business partner and co-owner of OA Cheddar, Gabe Strom, and we launched Cheddar One. And it took a little while to fill up that first list, but then we launched the second list, and that filled up a little bit faster. And
When you say
then,
fill up, it's like you limit the number of people that can
yeah,
use these, right?
yeah. Back at that time, we had each list was limited to 55 seats. So we sold out list number 1, list number 2, and then, rinse and repeat until now we have 10 Cheddar lists, a Nike list, and then our good, not great list, which is our feta list. We have 12 total. And, we were sold out for many, many years. And then, this last year, in 2023, I think the boom of the COVID years was starting to dwindle down a little bit. The market changed a little bit. And so we've had a little bit more this last year of like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, is this still working? Because it was starting not to. And when we looked around, we realized, you know what, we have too many seats on our list. We need to get more exclusive. And so we made some changes, and I'm happy to say that is working out very well.
Nice pivot. Nice pivot. Yeah. I mean, just to state the obvious, the laws of supply and demand, none of us can come up with a creative enough plan to override those, right?
Right.
So you get enough people buying and selling the same thing, someone's going to get nervous first and tank the price.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're into the territory where I've traditionally pushed back against leads lists. And this might be a good time to transition there. We can go wherever you want, but since the topic came up of maybe there's too many people buying, to me, the ideal way to find a great ASIN will always be to find it yourself, or
Right.
or the VA that you trained personally.
Right.
The strategies and the parameters that you've identified and the techniques. There's dozens of techniques for finding great ASINs. I think we both agree on this. The challenge will never be a lack of good ASINs. I mean, there's a billion ASINs on Amazon, and right now, probably a million of those billion are viable to go test against, right? I mean, like there's just, if not more than that.
Oh yeah.
So that's not the challenge. But as soon as you start saying, hey, let's kind of all get in together and share this list, the laws of human nature, supply and demand, and that kind of, they start to kick in, which is why I've always said new sellers do not rely on lists. And even when you do get a list, don't just run out and buy everything because you trust the list.
Right.
Run it through your own filter, use it as a bunny trail tool to explore around. So talk on some of that. Like, how much do we overlap in our worldview on the use of lists there, based on what I just said?
I think we overlap a good amount. I would agree with you. I think that if you are signing up for a leads list, your goal should not be to wake up, get your lead list, buy everything that's on that lead list, and then expect that the results are going to speak for themselves because of what you just brought up. That's supply and demand. We are increasing the supply on a product that only has a fixed amount of demand on Amazon. And, on some of those leads, not all of them, but on some of those leads, you will see a high increase of volume of sellers, and prices will normally drop down because of that. At the same time, I will say things always do rebound. And so, for us, because we do buy, we're buying about 80 to 90% of all the fresh leads every day. And we have enough capital in our business to where we can let those products sit for a little while until that rebound happens.
I love it.
Typically,
Can we dwell on that for just a second?
Yeah.
Because you and I have both heard the cries of agony, typically from newer sellers that don't know how the world works yet. Oh no, it tanked. It tanked. Right. I'm like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to hear people say, "Oh, the price tanked," because I'm like, you don't recognize what that is. To me, price tanking is profit 2 to 3 months from now. That's all it is. Right. That's every single, pretty much, not every time. There are some exceptions, but for the vast majority of the prices that tank, what's just happened is a bunch of sellers were willing to lose money for some apparent reason. I don't know why. Okay, good for them. And Amazon have just colluded to give a whole bunch of attention to an ASIN that's not making anyone money and boosted in the rank.
Yep.
So that when they all run out of the stupid money they're spending on that ASIN, I can come in and make some money on an otherwise poor ranking ASIN. All they've done is boost the rank. Amazon and sellers who have more money than sense are boosting that to a point where I can come in and make money a couple months from now. That's all it is. It's not tanked. It's a delayed opportunity.
You're seeing how the market handles that product and handles the different variables, which will then also set you up in the future to be able to understand what happens when there is an increase of inventory, right? Yeah. No, I'm glad you say that because a lot of people miss that. They come in, okay, the price tanked. I got to panic. I got to sell out quickly. And for some folks, if they're on a tight budget, I understand. Get as much of my capital back, right? And let's be real. When a price tanks, you're mostly buying it for the same price as everybody else. So it's not tanking to a place where you're going to lose 50% of your capital investment. You're most likely breaking even, or making a couple bucks, right? A small sliver of profit.
Right. And something else that I don't know, not to get off into the weeds too much, but I've been nerding out on this stuff for a long time, as have you. And when I look at Keep It Charts, I've given 200 examples from my own inventory the past few months where prices are tanking or everyone's beating themselves up over the buy box. And I'm sitting up here in the fresh air of a super high price, making steady sales. Because it's what I call an underserved ASIN. Now, you have to know what you're looking for, but they're everywhere. And like I gave an example this morning, I'm the only FBA seller. There's a bunch of merchant fulfill sellers on this thing, and they're all about the same price, beating each other up over the buy box. I'm up here like $12 priced higher than them or more in some cases. I had a $60 above buy box sale yesterday. No one's ever, to my knowledge, no one's ever priced that high or made a sale that high, but I'm making sales on this new ASIN I'm testing because there's no FBA sellers or there's inadequate FBA coverage for all the hundreds of warehouses. So when you start to look at a leads list to the lens of, are any of these underserved ASINs, not just get in there, flip it quick, but are they underserved? Could I test a couple of units and maybe discover something? Can I find a new brand? Now that's interesting. It's like a starter. It's like a shove in the right direction on some research that you need to do to find the
Mhm.
real opportunities.
Yeah. No, I've been doing this and seeing it within our own business too. Is ASINs that you would go into and you look at the Kiba graph and you'd go, oh, this thing is not performing very well.
Mhm.
But when you actually look at the real stats from your business and how it's selling, you're like, hey, I'm actually making good sales from this.
Yes.
You know,
And you're like, what's the disconnect? And that's what I started noticing myself is when I'm the only FBA seller or one of just a few FBA sellers compared to some other merchant fulfilled sellers, and you can search Keepa for this.
yeah,
There's opportunity, so much opportunity to go in with a high price. So who cares what the other sellers are doing?
right,
My unit is sitting in a warehouse near someone that liked the idea of 2 hour delivery. There isn't a merchant
right,
fulfilled seller in the country that can get it to them in 2 hours. I have no competition at that point for that unit
absolutely,
and that warehouse to the customers near that warehouse. I've got no competition.
yep,
Right. So we price high FBA all the time. And if you put, that's what I'm saying, use a slightly creative, just go a little further than other people are willing to go with your research and buy list. The right kind of buy list can be a powder keg of
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Beautiful. Well,
no,
tell me
absolutely.
what else you guys do. Like, I would love to hear. I'd love to go here. I'd love to see. Like, what do you guys do to build these lists? Like, without giving away any trade secrets. Like, what makes your list stand out? Or same question stated differently. Why have you guys lasted since 2018 when others just kind of come and go? Like, what's the secret sauce there that you would say if you can reveal it?
No, I can reveal it. And the number one thing I would say is our team. So I have a fantastic team. I have team members that have been with us since the very beginning. From the day that we launched, I have most of my team has been with me for multiple years. We have a good culture in our team. They all get paid very well and they make great money, which makes them happy as well. There's a level of loyalty, but it's a level of care. And anybody who has a virtual assistant, your virtual assistants, if they're coming from the Philippines, will treat your business like it's their own business, right? If
Yeah,
you treat them
culturally, yeah,
well,
they're
they
very
will treat
loyal
you
as a
well.
culture. Yeah, it's
Super
like
loyal.
one of the strengths of that culture, and they're so resilient too. I
Yep.
always say, the thing you have to remember about Philippines is once every few months, the whole island gets reset with a typhoon or something. It's like wipes
Right.
everything. They just build everything, turn it back on, and back at it they go. Like
Yeah.
that'll build resilience, right? So they're industrious and resilient. They love working for an international company that they can continue to serve, even when things are crazy locally, because their economy is just
Yeah.
tragic there. But
Yeah.
a lot of them speak English, probably better than most people in America.
Oh, they, yes,
They're
100%.
well
They definitely
educated.
type better English than I
Oh,
do.
they type. Yeah,
My
it's
grammar's
incredible.
horrible.
Yeah, so we love virtual assistants, and the US dollar goes so far there. I mean, you can change a
Yeah.
family's life if you give one person in that family a $4 an hour job. You change their
Yeah.
life, their whole
Well, and
story.
that, so I'll say it starts with our team, and then there's a couple of things that we do differently. One of the things that we look for, we call them our 60-day rules. The first 60-day rule is a product has to have profitable sales. The last 90 days, 60 days worth of that time need to be in a profitable range. So we are not sharing leads that, say historically is sold for $20 and then in the last 2 weeks it's selling for 40, right? We don't share those types of leads. We want to have to see some sort of history. So we have that 60-day rule.
Hmm.
Another
Good.
60-day
I like
rule
it.
that we have is that we don't repeat an ASIN on a list for at least 60 days. Now, do we share some leads over again? Yes, there are leads that they're replenishable. I mean, they are constantly, they go through that, we share it. It takes a hit maybe because there's an increase of sellers, but it quickly rebounds and it's worthy of being shared again.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we don't want a list subscriber to see the same lead every 2 weeks on their list. That's not valuable.
Right.
All right. So we put that limitation of at least 60 days from the last time it was shared. Even if there is a better promo or a new supplier, we wait that 60-day window. And that just helps. And it just helps, one, not to have the same repeating leads on your lead list, but also it steadies out that competition. If I'm sharing the same thing every 2 weeks, that's hot selling, more and more competition will come on that listing and eventually it will tank, right? So that helps protect it. We have a strict rule with our suppliers. So when we look at suppliers, we have a full vetting process that we do to make sure that the suppliers we're sharing are at least legitimate, right? Now, do they have the best customer service and support? Maybe not, right? Some of these smaller online companies get kind of beaten up on the review boards a little bit, but are they legitimate?
Sure. Well, let's pause on that one for real quick. When you're testing for the legitimacy, one of the things we train when we got a new seller is helping them. You don't want to put any garbage into your account, obviously. And there's a lot of places you can go. You can go to, Pallets R Us down the street and like, oh, I got all this great inventory. I'm going to throw it on Amazon. The next thing you know, you got an IP complaint and they're asking you for proof of chain of custody.
Right.
You're like, they gave me a receipt.
Right.
And then they jump online and go, Amazon rejected my receipt. It's like, they didn't reject a receipt. They're rejecting the place you bought it from.
Right.
It's approved by the brand, which leads to my question. When you say you're approving the sources, are you asking the brands involved, is this a legitimate distributor?
No.
How do you determine?
So what we're looking for is we take the brand's URL or the name, we search it on Google. We're looking for reviews, so we check the main review sites. We're checking things like Reddit to see what real people have had their experience with. Do they have a presence on
the brand?
No, not the brand, the source itself.
You are evaluating the source. Okay.
Yeah, so we're evaluating the source that way, and we're just making sure that they're a legitimate business. Do they have a brick and mortar store, right? Because we have like there's a shoe supplier that we have. They have 3 or 4 locations around Texas,
right?
But they have an online presence and they are a legitimate business. And so what we're looking for is that legitimacy. As far as, do we have permission from the brands and things like that? We leave that for the seller to decide.
Well, I would just say, speaking straight to the seller now, and this would be, it's a lot more steps for you, but it's something for you to consider. When we coach our students, we say, ask the brand before you sell anything. If you're not sure, it's like, well, I got a receipt, I got an invoice. Amazon doesn't care, because if Amazon challenges the legitimacy of a product, they're going to look at the brand on that product, call the brand and say, I've got a seller here who bought your product at, Pallets R Us in, Iowa. No, never heard of those guys. That's not a legitimate distributor. Okay, you're guilty because you didn't buy from an authorized distributor, retailer, website, right?
Right.
So checking that is, maybe you can sell it on Walmart. 2 thumbs up, man. Go for it. eBay, Facebook Marketplace. But for Amazon, if you're being cautious, which we strongly encourage, as I know you do as well, that's just me speaking straight to the sellers. Make sure that the brands you're selling like the sources you're buying from. And if they don't, you're putting your business at risk. Even if it's a legitimate product, you can't prove that it's legitimate.
Right. No, that's really good advice. And I would say that going, to that level is really smart, especially if you are a newer seller or you've been selling for a few years. Like, take the cautious route, because it's not worth your store, right? Exactly. On Amazon.
And you can take a few hits and they won't shut you down. Actually, when they do shut you down, as long as you're persistent, 99% of the time you get it back. But there's going to be some painful days, weeks, or few months. If sometimes they make you stand in the corner a long time.
Yeah, no, we went through section 3 this last Q4.
Did you? How long were you?
Oh yeah, we were only gone for I think a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's one of the shorter ones for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we were able to get all our stuff submitted in, and I think it's because we do have the history. We've only been suspended twice, and one was about 3-4 years ago, and man, I'll tell you, we were in chaos mode at that point. I ended up tracking down one of the guys who filed an IP complaint for like a Korean beauty product. I called his other business, and he's like, "How'd you get this phone number?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to get my store turned back on one way or the other.
Livelihood. Help us out here." Yeah.
Yep. And so
it seems like Amazon always does it right before peak
right
sales.
Before Q4.
I around here we say they like to make you stand in the corner during recess.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. That's a great. But yeah, so take that extra time, double check with the brands. I think that's really great advice. For us, it's not totally feasible for, my whole team to check a brand new source right before delivery, because my team is, we deliver everything that we find. So all the leads that we found today got delivered today. And my quality control team is going through those leads and making sure they're matches, making sure the source is legitimate. But there are going to be times where we're going to share a supplier that maybe is not approved by the brand. And, the nice thing is with our systems, a customer can easily report that to us, or they can reach out and start a chat with myself and make me aware of those types of things. and we'll do our own research and we realize, hey, you know what, this isn't the best supplier, we'll blacklist it. So I have a big blacklist of suppliers and brands
Oh,
that
good
we
for
just
you.
don't offer up. And this is coming from my own experience because I buy the leads and I sell the leads that OA Cheddar delivers,
Yeah.
but also from our customers. And so if our customers are having issues with a certain brand or a supplier or, things like that, we get enough of those reports, we just will remove it from the equation. Which doesn't help us all the time because that just takes away leads that we could be
Oh,
sharing.
of course.
But it's improving the quality of the list, which is more important to us.
Yeah. Well, I think we're identifying why you've lasted as long as you have,
Yeah,
right? Because other lists would be like, oh no, if people are buying the list, man, we're selling the list. You kidding me? It's on them
right.
if they. Yeah, but I love that you've got a blacklist of sources. Like, man, they may have some great inventory, great prices, but the brand says they're illegitimate, so we're going to have to stop sharing these guys. Yeah, I love it,
Yeah.
man. Sellers are still responsible for doing the due diligence
Mm-hmm.
of anything they sell, right?
Yeah.
But if you can do some of that heavy lifting for them, you're just stacking the value. That's great,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Want to add
What,
one
what else
thing
goes
to
into your process?
Well, I was going to say it's also this level of security that we take. So for us, lead security and data security is extremely important. So it starts with our team. There's two ways that data can leak out. Either it's from your team or it's from your customers. So when it comes to starts with the team, we have everything kind of in our business is compartmentalized. So not one, VA has access to just everything, all the data.
Right.
Um, we keep, everybody who works for us has to work with a screenshot monitoring app on their computer. So we are watching everything. The reason I do that is because if anyone ever came to me and said, hey, I think you're just taking leads from another service and reselling it, I want to be able to show the screenshots or the receipts of here's where this VA stumbled upon the Amazon listing and here's them finding it at the source. Right. We want to make sure we have full transparency there.
You've got video record evidence of the screen, the mouse
Yep.
moving around. Yeah, I
Yep.
love it.
I have leaders in
Cool.
my team
Yeah.
that understand our standards and our ethics, and they hold everyone else to the same level. We operate weekly meetings. We do one-on-ones. I have relationships with my teams, and the relationships is where you get the most protection,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Of course.
We have had people who have done things unethically on our team, and we quickly invite them to leave.
Yep. Same
And that's
here.
just the nature of business. So we protect the data on the team side, and then on the customer side as well. We also we do some protection. I can't go in too much with that, but we deliver through our own software platform because it gives us a little bit more tools in our tool belt to be able to protect the data.
Yeah.
I have a bounty program. So if anyone is ever on any of our lists and you see the same data somewhere else, contact me, let me know. We'll do an investigation. And if we find that there is a leak somewhere, right, we'll give you $500 as a bounty for finding that data.
I love it because one of the big pushbacks I've always had is, it's human nature. Um, I mean, Jesus healed 10 lepers and one came back and said, thank you. I mean, for the most part, people out there are good, decent people, but you give them the opportunity to do something unethical enough times and keep the price low enough, the punishment low enough, you're going to have people take advantage of systems. So most of the lead lists that kind of come and go,
Mm-hmm.
the Achilles heel, from my observation, has been someone lacks ethics and has no intention of actually selling the products or buying them on Amazon, gets the
Right.
list and just flips it out there as their own. And there's
Yep.
no tracking or recourse or anything. And suddenly they're selling this good list that was intended for a few people to, 500 people, new sellers over here. It's like, what's
Right.
going on? Everything just crashes instantly. Well, that's what's happened. Right.
Yeah.
So you've taken some intentional steps to curtail that kind of activity, to disincentivize that type of activity. You've got a bounty program. I love that. Like reward. Help us track down. You've assigned these, virtue, I don't know, traits to people who break the policy. And I got to imagine when I sign up for this list, like one of the things I'm agreeing to is this is for you. You're not going to share it, you're not going to sell it, you're not going to spread it around, you're going to start your own service, right? You're in violation of our terms of service. There's legal recourse here, all this stuff, right? So you guys have taken the time to bolt this down as good as it can be. And that's why you've lasted with the great reputation you have with, most importantly, as you and I both know, happy clients going, yeah, you guys are awesome. I'm making money because of what you guys do, right? That's the truth at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Again, to us, it's extremely important. We have all that in our terms of service. And we have, unfortunately, we have found, issues like that in the past, and we snuffed them out pretty quickly. And then one of the other things too, which not everyone's a fan of this, but if we have a seller that's outside the United States trying to sell in the United States, there is like there's times where we set up interviews with customers. So you might sign up for one of my lead lists, and Cindy might reach out to you and say, "Hey, we want to do a quick video, call with you, just to confirm some details before we continue along this path." So we do put up restrictions as far as who are the customers that can, join our lists. And we've had customers who they're from, international sellers. They meet with me. We have a conversation. I get some references as far as like their prep center and things like that, and we're good to go. If they're willing to get on a call with me, they're willing to share some information with me. Like
Yeah,
that's somebody who
good.
is working with integrity.
No
And we've
wonder you
had the
guys have
other,
lasted so long. I
yeah,
love it. I had
yeah.
no
So
idea you guys did that. And I know exactly what that does is it weeds out, that step alone weeds out 98% of the
yep,
bad actors who are, someone's hired a virtual assistant to buy all the leads list, and let's compile them into our own leads list. And like that guy's not going to get through the filter that you just named.
yeah.
Right. I love it.
Yep. They might get a day or two worth of leads, but Cindy's really good about checking. She verifies every new subscriber, verifies every purchase.
Mhm.
And then, even just right now, I have a gentleman who's supposed to make an interview call with me. He had 48 hours. And I want to say that 48 hours is expired. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cindy's already canceled the subscription and,
Mhm.
let him know, hey, if you want to join back on, you need to get on this call, in the future. But again, it's all about protecting data to us, quality over quantity. I'd rather give you good leads that I would buy, for my own store, and not just give you, here's a list of 20. And out of that 20, there's 4 that are somewhat decent that you can take action on, and the rest are kind of filler.
Mhm.
Right. So that's always kind of been our motto. And like you say, we've been around for a long time, and we've had we have customers who've been with us still to this day. I still have one customer who's been on our list since day one. They have the special early price on their lead list, and they've had it now for 6 years, and they're not dropping it anytime soon.
That's beautiful. I love it.
So,
And and something else that gets me excited to know that you guys exist because I've moved the needle a little bit getting to know you guys. Starting at our May event, talking to you
mhm,
guys a little bit about how you're different. Now really digging into the fine print as a guy who, I go straight to the fine print.
right,
Like,
right.
how are you securing your data against potential virtual assistants who would come in and try to you're getting down in the weeds with me a little bit. Some people might think, why is it necessary to do all that? Well, because it's just such an easy system to kind of take advantage of and to
Yeah,
dilute, right?
right.
But you guys are doing it right, and what I love about it is the fact that your business, the fact that you guys exist with happy clients, tells
Mhm,
me it's just another box I can check when I say the blue ocean of opportunity on Amazon is so
mhm.
expansive. There's even companies out there that'll find the leads and hand them to you for a price, and you can, use a reasonable filter to go through them. But you
Yes.
can build a business that way. Like that's
Yeah.
just another box that I get to check now. One of the other to make an example, I love seeing the money that just flows into our community from investors.
Right.
Everybody wants to fund our Amazon seller trained students. Why? Investors like to make money. So where's that money going to go? Where things work. So
Mhm.
this is validation of our industry. The fact that you're able to do what you do, the fact that the money flows into our industry and people are throwing money at sellers. Please take a loan from us constantly, right? Because
Right.
they know these are people that are turning dollar bills into $2 bills constantly. They know the
Mhm.
stuff works. So I love these validating services, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And yeah, I've got another validated service. I used to have you guys in column A of like, I don't know, avoid. Now you guys are over here in column B of like, all right, these guys are legit. But you do have a limited inventory by the
Mhm.
nature of your business. So let's talk about that a little bit. We can go wherever else you'd like to go as well. But I just want to make sure people know how to get your services. I probably mentioned it in the introduction already, but talk to us about that a little bit and the limited inventory that you have.
Yeah. So if you go to cheddar.com, that's online arbitrage cheddar, you will find that all of our lists are laid out on the front page. We do have a handful of lists that are sold out currently, but there are multiple lists and there are three different group sizing. So let me explain this better. We have 10 cheddar lists. Now, a cheddar list is a mixed category list. They have the same standards for profit, sales per month, ROI. The difference between different lists is the number of seats that we allow for that list. So you're basically just looking for exclusivity. So starting off, we have our cheddar 20 lists. So that is 20 member lists. It limits it down to only 20. And then those are usually priced at $279 a month. Those are both currently sold out right now. We have our Cheddar 25 list, which is a 25 member list, same standards. Those are at $199 a month. And then we have our Cheddar 35 member list priced at $179 a month. We also just launched, actually at your event, we launched this list. I was Friday. I was trying to do a product launch while at the booth, and thankfully, Grant and Gabe were like, "Hey, go back to the room and just focus on that." But we launched our Nike list. It is a clothing and shoe list primarily filled with the Nike brand, but there are some days where we'll put in some other shoe and clothing brands depending on the deals and availability of Nike. I've really been enjoying that list. That is a list that is limited to 20 members, $325 a month. And then our final list is our Feta. Feta is our good, not great. These are leads that have lower profit standards, lower sales per month standards than what we would accept for our Cheddar or a Nike Plus list, but they're still good leads. A lot of times you'll find, lower profit, but faster selling leads, or slow selling leads with a really high amount of profit potential. And that's $99 a month. That list, if I'm not mistaken, is I'm just looking right now. It is also sold out currently, but it is limited to 35 members as well.
Gotcha.
And so,
yeah. So at any given time, you've got inventory either available or unavailable. If someone drops out, then you can hop in. And I just want to point out too that I don't know if we have a special deal with you guys or not, or if we might at some point in the future, but our affiliate link, for those who want to support the show and jump over or take advantage of whatever special deal we may or may not set up at some point with you guys, is silentjim.com/OAC, as in online arbitrage cheddar, OA cheddar, OAC, silentjim.com/OAC. Takes you to the same website. Just if we have a special deal at some point, that'll be there as well. But,
I will say, if anyone signs up, use the promo code Cheddar30. It's just the word Cheddar and then 30, and they'll get 30% off their first month.
Oh, cool.
So
awesome.
Yep.
Okay. We'll stick all that in the show notes for folks so that they can take advantage of those offers. You said that was
it's Cheddar30 is the promo code.
Cheddar30, CHEDDAR.
Then the number 30.
All right, cool. Yeah, I got that. I'll stick it in the notes. Fantastic. Well, what else do you want to talk about? Hopefully, you guys are going to come back. I think I heard, if I remember correctly, you're planning to come back to our May 2025 event. You done, because if I remember correctly as well, you haven't done a lot of like shows and sponsors and booths and that kind of thing. Had you done that before?
No, the Proven Conference was our first sponsored event. Now we've been to some events.
I haven't heard from you guys.
Honestly, it was fantastic leading up to it, because it was kind of a last second, Susan emailed us and we're like, yeah, of course, like we're on board. Like we need to go do this. We just came back from another event and we were really, hot on events because we're thinking like, hey, we had a great time. Like, let's go do this again. So getting the promotion material and stuff like that, we've never had to think about that before. And we got all that shipped down there and had a great time meeting just so many fantastic sellers and vendors as well. We had a great time.
I do owe you an apology for something though.
Yeah.
We've ruined all other future events for you guys. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. This might be the only event that we do every year. We had a really, really good time. I saw some friends that I haven't.
Special community for sure.
Yeah. I've got to meet some people I've never met in person, but have had relationships with years. Saw some of our awesome customers, and then got to enjoy, the Florida weather. I'm from, being from the Northwest, it's much different up here than it is down there in Florida. And I actually just came back from a vacation. We took our daughter to Disney World. So it was like a test run for me, right? I'm a bigger guy and I was like, how am I going to deal with the Florida heat? And so luckily it was like a warm up. Yeah. We had a great time.
Well, we're going to do it again, man. I'd love to have you guys back. The dates for the listeners who may not have heard yet. The website it's 3 words, theprovenconference.com. And the dates for next year, 2025, are the last 3 days of May. It's a good way to say it. The 29th, 30th, 31st of May. The hotel dropped our rates, actually. They're like, hey, we love you guys. At first, I thought I was doing good, talking into the same rates. They dropped our rates. Please come back. So for like $100 a night, a little over $100 a night with no resort fee, which is like everyone in Florida does resort fees. Beautiful resort, and come early, a few days early, stay a few days late, meet the great guys from OA Cheddar. And we had just some great sponsors this year. This was a year where I think we finally dialed in. That was our 12th event. The May 2024 was our 12th, 13th event, May 2025. I think we finally dialed in the whole sponsor thing, because I'm hearing good things from all of them. We didn't have way too many. We didn't invite a bunch of clowns who didn't know what they were doing. It was good sponsors, all good people with good products that serve the community well, and a nice balance that helps us foot the bill for a really nice event. So thanks for making that possible, and glad it was a good investment for you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting it on. It was great. I do want to talk about one thing though with lead lists, and just to help, the viewer understanding how do I work my lead list to the best of my ability.
Oh, excellent. I love it. Yeah, let's do it.
There's three different strategies that I approach it with. I call it, the high on capital, low on time would be the first one. So this is for the user the customer who says, hey, I got plenty of capital to invest, but I'm really limited on my time. My job takes up a lot of it. I can only put in a few hours a day. And this would be getting as much data as you can. This is kind of what we do, right? I'm low on time. My store right now is averaging about 220 to 230,000 a month in sales. And so we're doing a lot. And for us, we have a big funnel of data that's coming in. We buy a little bit of everything. We go wide and shallow. We reduce our risk that way. And then my team of VAs internally for our FBA business will analyze everything that we're selling. And if they see an item, say I buy 5 of something, I send it in, and within the first 10 days of it being live, I sell out of all 5. Well, we will then go and purchase, another 10 or 20, or go a little bit deeper. Go deeper. It's a green light. And then we'll do, after that second round of purchases, we'll review it. And if it's still, promising, we'll even go deeper on it. And so what you're doing is you're taking in all these different leads, and you're filtering out through not only your standards, but also putting it into your business and seeing how they perform, going deeper on the ASINs that are winning, and, passing on the ones that are losing. And what I love about that is it's teaching me to understand what sells on Amazon and what doesn't. Like I was mentioning, there's Keepa graphs that I look at and go, maybe this is selling 10 times per month. I'm not going to go buy a bunch of these. And then turns out that product is actually selling really well. Who knows why the Keepa data isn't correct, but Keepa is not perfect, and that's a lot of data to store. Right. And so that's clued me into those. And so for those users, like I said, get as much data, whether it's coming from a lead list, if it's coming from a team of VAs, doing your own lead gen for you. If you're with like a seller group, a few sellers combining their efforts together to find products, like just get as much data coming in, and then filter that data through and really analyze. The second strategy is those who have a lot of time and they're limited on their capital. And that is the rabbit trail. Use the lead list as a starting off point. Okay. Don't buy the items that are necessarily on the list, unless maybe you see something you're like, hey, profit's great, volume, sales volume is fantastic. I can't lose with this. Buy that. But use them as a starting off point. With a lead list, we're going to share suppliers that you've never heard of before. Again, that small regional shoe, company that has a few locations. We're going to share with you different promotions and sales that you might not know were going on, brands that you've never heard of. And somebody from your community I know who does this, who did this very well. They had one of our lead lists, and I think another lead list from somebody else. And that person was able to scale up and build out, a whole business by just rabbit trailing and using the leads list as a starting off point. Right. Which is why I think leads lists can be good for new sellers, and should be a tool that intermediate and advanced sellers kind of utilize, is just taking the data and learning, what are they sharing? Why are they sharing it? Because it opens you up. I remember when I did retail arbitrage, one of our struggles were, where do we go and buy good products? Of course, Walmart, Target, Marshalls, Ross, but where else can we go and source? And that's how we found, sources like Grocery Outlet, which for anyone doing retail arbitrage, if you have a grocery outlet around your neighborhood, it was like our best source. It's a gold mine there. So where can we find profitable products? And that's where I think a lead list kind of helps out with that. And then for those folks who are like, hey, I've built my business, I have my team in place, they're rock stars, right? I want to scale and grow. I think a lead list is a great tool to help somebody scale and grow their business up as well, because again, it's cheap data. For the cost for a VA to go out and find products, you might be paying $3, $4, $5 per lead, depending on how many leads that they can find. Whereas on a lead list, I think when we crunch the numbers, I want to say we're around like 75 cents per lead, 60 cents per lead for the cost. I might be mixing in our Cheddar Black leads, which is a whole nother program. But the cost is well below $1. So you're buying data for cheap. And now, are you going to use all that data and build your entire store off of that? Part of me says, yes, you could, because that's what I've done. But, in truth, no, you might only use 20% of that data, or your team might look at it and go, oh, I've never heard of, feelunique.com, rest in peace. Right. Oh, they're a UK based health and beauty company that gets products to the US lightning fast and, is legitimate. And, now here's a whole new source that your team can go and sort that you might not have ever known about.
Yeah. And I was doing the math real quick in my head, and if you're paying a VA $4 or $5 an hour, unless they're finding you really good, solid, about 10 or more good leads a day, you guys are very competitive with that. Even if you're only using small percentage of the list, like you mentioned, even if you're only using 20, 30% of the leads, right? So it starts to make a lot of sense economically as well. And I love the way, I think I would overlap. I love the way you described it. I've learned to err with an abundance of caution when I talk to new sellers. If they're thinking, oh, I finally found the easy button for all the inventory I want. No, you really haven't. You got to learn to read a keep a chart. You got to know when you're making a good decision and when you aren't. And it's kind of like giving a teenager a credit card. There's some that can handle it. Yeah, pay it off every month. Cool. Yeah, it allows me to do some new things now, investment in my business and grow some things. Other teenagers are like, it's a disaster to hand that kid a credit card. So it really kind of comes down to the person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Right. The discipline. Can you read a keep a chart? Are you going to make good decisions? Are you going to treat these ASINs like, you've researched them yourself and put them through that same fine tooth comb? It's like when you get a credit card, it's easy money, easy to go spend it. Get a buy list, it's easy to go buy everything and then blame someone else when it doesn't work. Right? Yeah. Proceed with caution. But other than that, man, I totally love what you guys are up to. You're doing it, from my perspective, I haven't seen anyone that's doing it better than you guys. Right? I mean, this is the first leads list service we've ever offered. And trust me, my doors are pounded down daily with all kinds of offers, including lead lists. But you guys have earned your way onto the stage, into the spotlight. And I love that there's a cap here. By the time we get done with spreading the word, I'm hoping you guys are just sold out. Like, sorry, waiting list. We can't serve any more people.
That'd be a fantastic problem.
Yeah. Hey, man, maybe we can make it happen. Well done, man. You've built a beautiful business, beautiful service. We're serving the same community. And so I think the heartbeat of the culture of the community we're trying to serve. A lot of home-based entrepreneurs, a lot of really good people working hard. We're all a little confused by Amazon sometimes, but we navigate it anyway. We figure it out. We move forward, kind of fall forward. You guys going to accelerate by any chance?
We're probably going to just go as participants, since I live about 30 minutes north of Seattle, so it's right in my backyard.
Sure.
So yes, we do plan on going and checking that out. I think this year we'll just be participants, and then maybe next year we're hoping to sponsor it with through the software itself.
Oh, really? Sponsor it? Wow, sponsor it.
Possibly. I haven't looked into that.
Have you looked at the price tags yet?
Yeah, I say that. I say that, and the first thought that came to my head, I'm like, I have no idea how much it would probably cost to sponsor a booth there. Oh. So maybe we'll just be participants for
dude. From what I saw, it was insane. I mean, just like $100,000 or something for a booth.
Oh no,
that kind of thing. It was ridiculous. Like what? Yeah, kind of pricey. I don't remember what it was. And sorry, Accelerate team, I'm sure it's worth every penny, but yeah, there's no way we're going to sponsor that thing. We go as we just go as attendees, and it's just good to see other sellers and get a chance to talk face to face with Amazon. So we do plan to have a small team there. I got to interview Claire O'Donnell last year for the podcast, which was sweet. She's it's about as high of the food chain as you can go in the customer service and the seller support services team.
Yeah.
she's got like, I don't know, 1,500 people that report to her on that team, something like that. So that was cool. So it's a chance to have those kind of, higher level conversations. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe run into you guys there, it sounds like. But appreciate
Yeah.
your sponsorship and thanks for being a part of the community and part of the show. And man, just God bless you guys. You're doing great work, and it's a pleasure to partner up with you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for everything you've done, not only for us, but also just for the community as a whole. I could only imagine the number of success stories and how many times people will probably come to you and say, hey, because of your programs, you've changed my life for the better. And so I think it's just awesome what you guys are doing. And I've always heard so many great things from our customers, who are usually your clients first. So,
Beautiful. Well, I love it. Yeah, it's a small world out there of people who are doing this stuff the right way and understand. Uh, it's one of the biggest lessons that's hard to drill into people is look for people who have been doing it a while. They're
yep.
not flashy. None of our ads show piles of cash and limousines and, and boats and like, I'll do that garbage. I say
Right.
things like, "Oh, you want to build a business? Well, it's going to require blood, sweat, tears, risk, work, sacrifice, delayed gratification, and probably a lot of painful, sleepless nights. Are you ready to go?" Like, no, I want this guy over here. He said I could have piles of cash in a week. Like, so,
Yeah.
so we tend to scare away the right people,
Right.
and keep the right people as well with that kind of messaging. But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I consider it my ministry, my life's work, and
Mhm.
I think we just keep getting better and better at it. If you serve with integrity and you care about people, you can do something pretty special, but it takes time.
Yep.
Well, all right, man. Good hanging out with you. Great getting to know you, Taylor. Hope to hang out with you again sometime in the near future. And I just appreciate OA Cheddar. And that link again, if you want to use our affiliate link, or maybe if there's any kind of special offers that we end up setting up, silentjimdotcom/OAC, as in OA Cheddar. All right. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye for now.